We've considered a variety of aspects of our YA dystopia in Girls on Fire, and for Orleans, we're going to think a little bit more about climate change and the reality of dystopia. Several of our Girls on Fire novels offer dystopias that take into account the ways in which climate change impacts the future. For instance, Octavia Butler writes in Parable of the Sower, "I looked at global warming and the ways in which it's likely to change things for us. It's a much more complex problem than a simple increase in temperature." In Birthmarked, Gaia's father explains, "The cool age ended when the fuel was used up, and it was way too late for the masses to adjust, I guess. Crops failed, some illness, a few wars." And in The Summer Prince, "It must have been Armageddon when the cold came, when the dirty bombs devastated Pernambuco. Hundreds of millions more died in the nuclear wars and the freezing and the southern migrations." So while we have a lot of different kinds of climate change realities in these fictional futures, they all have a lot in common in that the climate really affects how people live. Other kinds of contemporary fictions are not far from dystopia. So for instance, Beasts of the Southern Wild, we might think about this film as it relates to Orleans. The area and the people are really the fictional ancestors of Finn and Enola. But there's no magic for Finn. Magic is one more danger in her Orleans. In this book, Sherry L. Smith begins with the real event of Hurricane Katrina, and then creates a string of fictional hurricanes that continued to ravage the region for years. The Superdome begins as a storm shelter and a refuge, and then becomes a mass tomb, and then a mausoleum. The area of the United States that's been walled off, that's been severed and left to its own devices, continues to evolve and even thrive as individuals and groups vie for survival. This is the only world that Finn de la Guerra knows. This is the world that Daniel discovers as scientist and tourist. But his world, the outer states, which sounds like a utopia to Finn, is also in trouble. This world, this dystopia in Orleans and in other YA dystopia novels, is not so far from reality. Chances are that we won't see the extinction of the human species in our lifetimes, but we'll certainly live through climate change events that create a variety of tragedies and impact people's lives and homes. For instance, the landslide in Oso, Washington in 2014, a really amazingly devastating climate change related event. Climate change means a variety of things, and I'd like to thank my colleague, Dr. Katie Corlew, for her insights on climate change. So climate change means that sea levels are rising, and different parts of the world are impacted in different ways. Storms are increasing in intensity and are finding new ground. Drought and flooding are increasing, and there's less recovery time between these extremes. Disease and treatable medical conditions become more life-threatening. Food and water supplies become compromised. People are dying and losing their homes and their homelands, traditions, and cultures. For instance, Dr. Katie Corlew researches climate change in the nation of Tuvalu, a number of islands in the Pacific Ocean whose people and culture and land are impacted by climate change and rising sea levels. People are being devalued and power is being exploited. But people are fighting back in a variety of ways. They're organizing, they're protesting, they're looking for political solutions. So how can Orleans and the dystopia it imagines help us to influence a better future? How do Girls on Fire understand and work to transform the world they inherited, both in fiction and in the real world? We remember there is no Planet B.